Mayor Report with Mayor Mark McKee. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Sean.
Man, I missed you.
I know you did.
Mark came in with his cool jacket on for his motorcycle.
It's very cool.
I can't imagine it's very fun riding a motorcycle right now with the smoke.
It's always fun riding a motorcycle.
Yeah?
Always.
Having that breathing in?
Yeah.
Just at Mach speed?
Yeah.
Have you done anything fun at all in the last few weeks?
Did some, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. Of course. We did some camping. We went to Roots and Blues, did some grandparenting. So, yeah, no, we're having fun.
Grandparenting is good. I enjoy it. I enjoy when we leave our children with you and you do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. We teach them all the nasty stuff, fill them full of chocolate, and then hand them back.
It's weird. It's like you guys have amnesia and you forget what it's like to give a baby ice cream at 7:30 at night, because that's what Dad wasn't doing it, but that's what my Grandma Wanda was doing, and it was like, oh God, what are you doing?
If ice cream's good enough for Grandpa, it's good enough for the grandkids.
Yeah, but when as soon as she turned, I grabbed that bowl and I wolfed down half of it, and my dad just sort of nodded. So, Mark, is there anything, or do you want to just dive right in?
Well, let's just dive into whatever you have for some questions.
Okay. So, obviously, there's lots of stuff still coming up with DCCs. That's a big issue for some, and others probably don't even know about it at all. Mm-hmm. But one of the concerns is where the DCC dollars gets allocated and how much. But let's just use, for example, something that is going to be addressed at some point, which is the bridge, the Illecillewaet Bridge. And it's roughly 60 years old, correct? Give or take, we're talking. It's not young.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll assume that's correct.
And that there is the thought that perhaps 20% would be development funded and the rest of it would be municipally funded. Yet the numbers provide for the DCC bylaw update now allocates approximately 94% of the upgrade cost to new development. So why would it be so much for DCC for a bridge that's going to be replaced regardless of that?
Well, so development cost charges are designed so that when development or increased demand needs increased infrastructure, that there's money there to pay for it. And the bridge is one of those, water is another one, sewer is another one. So Illecillewaet Bridge. One of the local developers had to do a traffic study, and it shows that in the next, whatever it is, 15 years, less than 20 years anyway, that there's going to be a 60 to 100% increase in traffic on the bridge. Okay, so the question then is, if there was no development, would we replace that bridge? And the short answer is no, we wouldn't replace it in that 20-year time frame. With proper maintenance and looking after the bridge, we could probably get 30 or 40 years out of the bridge. So then it gets down to what would level of reconstruction. We built a new bridge with no development. What would we build? Would we build one that would take 2 or 3 times the traffic that it takes now? Probably not. We probably replace it with the exact same bridge.
Right.
So it's development driven. And if there's no development, we have ways of mitigating and keeping that bridge going for as long as possible.
I suppose that's fairly common in all municipalities, looking at a bridge that might be old and going, well, unless it's completely falling apart, you would just keep using it and maintaining it.
That's right.
Okay. Now, one of the other issues was roundabout out on Nickel out towards the ski hill. What's the difference? Why a roundabout opposed to traffic lights? And I mean, this is not happening tomorrow, but there was discussion about it. What's the concept behind that?
Well, I guess it's a philosophical decision, and looking at it from an engineering and traffic and study, and I'm not the technical guy, but the couple of the things that are coming up is that we're seeing, and I live on Nickel Road, so I've seen the amount of traffic increases that are going there. I'm looking at the roundabout down at Mutis Road and the one that's being planned, and they're a lot more efficient way of moving large amounts of traffic. So if we are going to be getting that much more traffic up there, I think about the people that are living right near the corners where on real busy days with the traffic light, there's going to be traffic that's going to be piled up in front of people. I look at the ongoing maintenance that you need for traffic light scenario and just the proper smooth movement of traffic. It's a better system for a roundabout than it is for something else.
Are roundabouts arguably more expensive than traffic light installation?
I think in the short term, yeah, they are. In the long term, maybe not, because a roundabout, because the traffic is slowly moving. There's, I think, and I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but it seems to me that there's going to be less wear and tear on the actual intersection, and so it gets down to what's the long term cost benefit of the two scenarios, and this is what you see these roundabouts, they're coming up everywhere now. So what is the reason for them? If they're not efficient and they're too expensive, then why are they everywhere?
If we were to look at, because you guys recently just did the budget for the next, was it 15 years?
We do a 15-year financial plan.
So you have to kind of guesstimate what you think might be coming up. That's part of it, right? I.e., the Forum roof has been talked about for several years, but if there wasn't going to be potential new hotels and phase twos and more buildings down, and I've heard that there's other contractors out on Airport Way that want to build townhomes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, would these particular items maybe not even come up at all as something that needs to be addressed because there wouldn't be potential growth for living or vacationing, et cetera?
Well, I think that the one of the real advantages about development cost charges is that there's surety for a developer that there's going to be infrastructure to meet their needs, and so that's why you have this big plan that's all more encompassing, and it should be reviewed. excuse me, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years to make sure that those projects are relevant. 2, that other projects shouldn't be added on. 3, that you're collecting enough money with inflation and the cost of construction going up that you're actually going to collect enough money to pay for those things when you need them. So, and the other side of it is that, okay, we don't have the services to meet the development. Well, guess what? Development stops. So how does the developer feel about that? Well, not very happy. They assume that I can build something and I can hook up and Bob's your uncle. Well, that's not necessarily the case in all communities, and that's what we're trying to avoid. But let's back up a little bit and talk about the whole DCC process and where we are today. And there's a special meeting being called on September the 5th. And I can tell you that from where we started to where we are, we've come a long way in massaging the whole DCC bylaw and the rates and everything. But the last council meeting where we gave first reading, we gave direction to staff that council felt that and myself included, that the rates were still too high, and staff go back to the table with the consultant and start looking at these projects that are all on the list, because that's where we are, and are they relevant? Do we really have to do this? Is this high on the priority list? And we are trying to do a 20-year document, but still, we have to look at what's reasonable price tag that the community can bear. And I'm talking about the regular taxpayers and users, and I'm talking about the development community, because there's two different, there's actually 3 different pay groups here. Taxpayers, users of the services, like sewage treatment plant would be a good example. Not everybody in the city pays for the sewage treatment plant. Only if you're hooked up to the sewage treatment plant do you pay.
Okay, so you're going to look at these on the table, and we're using the Illecillewaet Bridge as this example. So you're going to go look at, is this something that we absolutely need to have? Now, you wouldn't need, like you said, okay, it's an older bridge, but if it's maintained well, you wouldn't necessarily need 94% of the DCC dollars in order to upgrade it, but you have to consider that there's going to be more population when I'm your age. Sorry,
yeah. Well... it gets down to is why would we be upgrading and doing it? Well, Yeah, we at some point are going to be replacing the bridge. It's a matter of when. And proper maintenance, 30 or 40 years, is probably not unreasonable. And would we replace it to double or triple the size? And the short answer is no, we wouldn't. Because why would you spend the extra millions of dollars if there's no need for it? So, it's a development project that's going to be upgraded because of increased traffic from development. Period.
Kind of off of the sewage lagoon that you mentioned, is there a phase 1 that's going to be beginning with that? There was some grant dollars.
Well, yeah, there is. We're applying, and you can look at all these projects that in the development cost charge bylaw, and it's only prudent for staff and council to be applying for every grant dollar that we can. But when we're putting together a development cost charge bylaw, unless we actually have the grant in hand or approved, you can't put it in the bylaw. You can't put in a section for grants that you don't have, and you can't rely on. You're not guaranteed. So it's pie in the sky money. It's not realistic money.
Was there any money in the DCC for the roundabout that will start in, I guess, a couple of weeks now? We're almost into September.
It was a recognized project prior, and a lot of these projects that we're talking about, the bridge, the Illecillewaet water crossing, was an original DCC project, and it still is a DCC project. Now that one there, we did receive a grant. I'm thinking it was like $900,000, and I know that in the first go round of projects, that was omitted by staff, and I'm assuming that, well, we brought it up because we noticed it that there was a grant, so that should be in the revised DCC bylaw moving forward. That it's a $2 million project. $900,000 of it is already collected, and then the rest will be collected. $900,000 is from a grant, and the rest will be from development cost charge bylaw.
Okay, so the next thing is September 5th.
September the 5th.
Is it a committee of the whole, or just a special?
No, it's a special council meeting.
Oh, okay. And this is where you're just going to readdress, or they're going to bring you the new stuff to the table?
There's going to be a new report coming from staff looking again at these projects and looking at what the end result is going to be for, and it's mostly going to be for commercial and industrial properties. And there will be some, because the projects are changing, there will be a little different scenario for single family and multifamily residential as well.
And then is there going to be a call to more comments from the public for another extra, whatever, couple weeks?
That'll be a decision that council is going to be making. But the way I look at it is that we're getting closer and closer. And I'll be real frank, is that where the DCC bylaw is right now today, I'm not in favor of.
Okay.
But with the direction that we've given to staff and the consultants, I'm optimistic that I'm going to be a lot more enthusiastic and more supportable of what's going to be coming to the table. And I think it's worthwhile to mention to the community is that, council is there to represent the community and to make a decision that's based on what's best for the community in the long term. So council's had, this has been a tough go round of this DCC to try to get what we feel is right, what we feel is fair. And no developer has said to me that we don't want to pay DCCs. No, they understand what DCCs are. It's coming up with a formula that is, I won't say the fairest, but probably the
most swallowable.
The most swallowable. That's a good way to put it. So, it's like, let's go out to the community and ask for, how much taxes do you want to pay? Well, guess what your answer is going to be? Yeah, exactly. It's going to be zero. And, or, a very nominal increase. But anyways, and I just want to, I hope that the community can feel all the work that council and staff are doing, and we're trying to get this right. But there's more than one side to every story, and people should be trying to get the right information, the full story, because, we are not, as a city hall, we're not going to do our battles on social media. So if you're going to get all your information from social media, I think you should be looking at it with a grain of salt and start asking some questions. But anyway, September 5th, 3 o'clock, it'll be coming back to council, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Sean.